What's up, guys? Average Kiwi guy here. How y'all doing? So, it's Gotham night. That means we gotta check out the new episode. And I gotta say, I really dug this episode. This episode was really kind of cool. It was really good. It took on a different feel from the previous two. The previous two, we were dealing with Scarecrow and sort of establishing like Penguin's dominance and you know Bruce becoming this, masked vigilante and, sort of getting into his stuff and, Selina and, we had a little bit of Poison Ivy last week. So it was like, it was going a certain way. And then this one was sort of like, boom, we're down in Miami and we're showing off Falcone and, sort of yellow tinted, scenes and all that where instead of having this gray tint, we've got this yellow. And, we got introduced to some brand new characters and, essentially they established sort of the big, well, they haven't said what the plot is, but the big sort of plot, like villain plot that's going to happen throughout this season. There's generally like two, there's all a bunch of smaller ones, but there's generally two sort of a smaller villain plot and then a bigger villain plot. And generally that smaller one blends into the bigger one by around mid-season. So this one I think we got shown the bigger one, which has to do with Ra's al Ghul. And, with the episode starting off with basically his rebirth, right? Essentially, in this opening scene where the episode starts out, we basically see the rebirth of Ra's al Ghul. Like, this is where he becomes the demon's head, and all the rest, the first dip into the Lazarus pit and all that. And, it's, 125 AD, I think that was the date, and he's in this massive battle and he's dead, and essentially what we're assuming, like, his predecessor basically puts him in the Lazarus pit, and then he becomes the Ra's al Ghul that we all know. He tells him, like, you got to go off and find your heir. That's what you will do. You will go off, find your heir like I did, and then that was kind of it. And I was like, okay, that's, I don't know. I think for me, like, I need to see, like, the League of Shadows or the League of Assassins, whatever you want to call them, kind of be established here. Like, we saw bits of it, in the previous seasons. I need to see, like, I'd like to see the League at this point. And I wouldn't mind seeing, the Al Ghul family, like, mainly Talia. Talia plays a massive role in the whole Batman thing. And I think to see either a younger Talia, sort of interacting with Bruce a little bit would be an interesting thing. And it would establish that the Al Ghul family is there and, that it will proceed, through him becoming, Batman and all that. Like, this is what Gotham's got to be careful of, is that you can't get rid of villains that will play a role further on down the line. That's when you, like, I know it's not a direct, like, link, timeline-wise and all that, but be careful what you tweak, Be careful what you tweak. Don't mess with the Al Ghuls too much. They play a very pivotal role in the way Batman is sort of, way he, is created, they play a pivotal role with Batman. So, treat them with respect. Don't go too far. And so we got to see the sort of the rebirth of him, and then obviously throughout the episode and all that, we finally realized he's actually the benefactor of Barbara, which makes sense. He was my primary person that I thought it would be. It was either going to be him or Carmine. That was really the only two that I could figure that would do it, and it makes sense that it's Ra's because he brought her back to life. And in like 3 months turned her into this elite ninja warrior. Okay. And apparently really likes her too, because, they kind of make out at the end. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so 3 months training, you can take on the demon, like, just like that. I mean, I'm sure he wasn't going, like, all out or anything, but it's like, okay. So Barbara's gone from, girlfriend of this police officer to crazy lady. She kind of went loopy there. And then it's basically crime boss to ninja. like ninja warrior, apprentice to, Ra's al Ghul, she gets around. She's, she's very diverse in her career. She can do a lot of things. I think that's just the thing with Barbara. I think that's what they don't really know what she's gonna be. They don't know what what they really want to do with her. She was, kind of started off as, she was gonna become Barbara Gordon. Like, that's what we all thought she was gonna be, and like she was gonna be this, sort of constant companion with Jim to go throughout this episode. And I think they kind of got to a point, early on where they're like, nah, that's boring. Let's just go nuts with Barbara. Let's just do crazy shit with her and just, throw her off the deep end and, all this stuff. So, I mean, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's just going to be interesting to see what they do with her. Like, at some point, she's either going to have to end up dead or become something. Or just become, or just stay Barbara Keene. And she's just some nut job in Gotham. Like, that's just who she is. But it's going to be interesting to see where she where she ends up. I think that's going to be the big thing. Like, where does she all end up after all of this? And, sort of, all these different career changes. It's like, I have no idea what you're going to do. I have no idea. But yeah, so she, basically has inserted herself into Penguin's, operations, being basically the armory for the city, and that's direct link for Ra's to come in and do whatever he wants. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he's planning there, but he's more focused on this knife that he had like back in the sort of flashback that we had with him. Is he had this knife, it was like an embalming knife or something, and he's told Barbara to buy it from Penguin, who's doing this auction. But Bruce, so that's when Bruce sort of comes in, and Bruce learned some stuff in this. He learned some stuff, and I think that also goes for Selina as well. Like, these two are both they're doing the hard yards right now. They're doing the hard yards. They're learning the hard lessons. Selina's learning that, trying to steal stuff can be hard. It can be tough, and, stuff goes wrong, and you got to figure out a way to, roll with the punches and figure out how to steal this stuff. And you can't just walk up to a place and just crack open a thing and steal it. Like, it's not always going to be that easy. And Bruce realized that shadows are your friend. Don't walk up to a truck and stand out in the open with everyone to see, peeking into it, watching a thief. It's like, no, either high or shadows. That they're both learning those lessons. So it's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. But for Bruce, he's also learning, like, he has to wear masks. Like, he has to have these masks that he puts on that can't just be his, vigilante mask. And throughout this episode, Alfred's trying to teach him that. Like, you have to be able to act in this. Like, you have to be able to, put on a persona and go out and be that. And this basically brings up, Bruce becoming that billionaire playboy. Just the, out of control, too much money, no responsibilities thing. Like, that's what he's trying to teach him. And this is the start of it. And of course, like, he goes to Penguin's auction and starts bidding on everything, and he's laughing away. It felt a bit forced. It did feel a bit forced. Like, it just doesn't suit. I don't think it suits Bruce's age group at the moment. Like, where Bruce's age is. Like, it just doesn't quite suit that yet. He's not like, Arrow, like, with the young Oliver Queen. He's not at that point. He wasn't there. He's not there. He just he needs a few more years, I think. But we'll see how it develops. We'll see how they can, maybe stop him from laughing so much, and just because it's sort of trying too hard. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But it was interesting to see, that's the start of him sort of developing these personas and saying, like, this is Bruce that's outside of the mansion that everyone sees. The sort of fun-loving playboy, billionaire. That, buys all random things and stuff and just has lots of fun. And then there's, at home Bruce, and then there's Batman. That he's developing those personas, which is cool. And then with Selina, she's just trying to get, you know, that respect from other people. Like, she's trying to get on the level with Barbara and Tabitha right now in that organization that they're making. The sort of the sirens there that they're developing, and Barbara kind of calls their into question, like, well, if you can't steal a simple knife, then no, you're not one of us. Like, maybe you're too young for this. Maybe you're not ready for it. But you can clean the floors, that sort of thing. Like, and I think Barbara's just trying to get what she can see in her out of her, like the actual Selina that she wants. Go out there and be a master thief thing. But she's learning that. She's in the same boat as Bruce. And I think that's what they're going to do this season, is have that parallel learning curve going with these two, as they develop into who they're meant to be. So that's cool. Then I guess we get to Jimmy. And Jimmy has all the luck. He has all the luck. Now, when you watch those Batman films where you have that old Jim Gordon and all the rest of it, you think back, when Jim Gordon was young, he was a player. And he had all the hot girls. I'm telling you. First he had Barbara, then he has Lee, and now Sophia. It's like, where do all these girls come from? But, I don't think it's going to be the same way with Sophia. I think it's sort of just a little bit of a flirtation. I think she's playing with him too. Like, she knows he's the guy that killed her brother. Like, no matter what she's saying, like, I think she'll just lead him along and just sort of play with him a little bit. I think it's fun for her in that way. But I think she is kind of, she's not I can't tell if she's a character from anywhere. Like, I don't see her, like, when you look up Falcone and all that, like, you don't see a well-known daughter or anything like that. So I think she's a character that they've created because of a necessity that they've made. They've basically said that Carmine Falcone is dying, which means he will not be around if it's real, that he will not be around for Batman when Batman comes up. And we all know that Batman deals with Carmine Falcone in some ways, right? That it's a thing that, that happens. Maybe they're creating Sophia so that the Carmine name will stay in Gotham for that, so that when Batman comes up, there is a Carmine in charge. That's the only thing that I can tell. Or they're just bringing in, this character to do something interesting and, be that opposite to go up against Penguin. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see where she turns out. But I don't know. She seems interesting. She does seem interesting. And she's very nice to look at. But I think it's going to be kind of cool to see her kind of trying to create her, criminal sort of empire, from scratch. Like she is. Because, Carmine's got some loyal sort of families, but it's nowhere near what Penguin has right now. So it's going to be interesting to see that grind, that fight, and how Jim plays a part in it. Because, he's basically an accomplice in this now. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see where her character goes. Like, is she a throwaway character, or is she going to be a character that sticks around and essentially replaces Carmine in the long run? Like, that's kind of where I'm seeing what I'm seeing there. But yeah, like, otherwise, Jim, he just kind of went down to Miami, asked Carmine, like, hey, can you come back and, like, kind of stop Penguin for us? Because we can't do it. And brought Sophia back to Gotham. That was really all his job in this episode. That's really all he did. Oh, and he kissed her on the beach. Like, Jimbo got to sit on the beach with a pretty girl. Like, that was really it. And I don't know. That was it. Like, I think that's kind of like where I'm happy with Jim right now. Like, the least amount of Jim, I think the better the episode is. I really do. Like I said last week, like, I'm kind of done with Jim. Like, Jim, I think, has hit his peak. He's hit his peak. These villains, the things that are happening now are going beyond Jim now. Beyond what a cop can do. the only way you can start elevating Jim now is if he becomes the captain of the precinct, becomes a commissioner, like all this. Like, this is where he has to go. And, when you're dealing with these, the Riddler and the Penguin and all the rest of it, it's above his pay grade now. And especially now that you got Bruce, it's like, let's just keep Jim and a little bit of a subplot down here, doing the little bits and stuff, but keep the big main stories about the characters that we're all interested in. Jim Gordon has served his purpose. Now let's focus on the real main characters now, because they're ready. They're ready to be the main characters. Jim's done. Jim's, have him do some good things. Have him develop on the side, and then go from there. So we'll see how it all goes. We'll see how that all goes. And on this episode, we also got the return of probably my favorite villain at the moment, which is Ed. Ed got freed, which is pretty cool. Basically by a fangirl. Like this girl that he went to school with and all that, and she, planned this all out for him and, cut him out with a blowtorch, which is like, does that work? Does that work? Like, this is just like a propane torch, like, no. This is like Mr. Freeze's ice, we're talking about. So, I don't know. It was a little weird. It's like, it didn't seem like it took much to get him out. And she flat out thawed him out, no problem. Like, I was like, when he needs something, like, you can't just come back from, like, cryo sleep or anything like that without, chemicals to help you. Like, didn't they establish that in a few seasons ago when they had Mr. Freeze come in? I don't know. But, yeah, he's there, and his mind is basically all jumbled up. Like, he just can't, he can't solve riddles. He can't, formulate plans or anything. So his biggest asset's on the fritz right now. And I think, as the season goes on, he'll start gaining back that mental, he'll start gaining back his brain, and, he'll start gaining back the ability to do all this stuff. He might do some things like, serums and all that to try and get it. But yeah, it was good to see Ed back, though. That's the big thing. It was good to see Ed back. But yeah, I mean, other notable mentions, I'm loving that Victor Zsasz is that's playing more of a role. I really am. Like, he's kind of taken over that Butch role right now. And I'm really excited for when Butch does show back up. Solomon Grundy, y'all. But yeah, so he's taken on that Butch role, but he's a lot more funnier, and he's kind of cool. Like, when he goes on about, like, the room seems far more open now. Like, when Ed's gone, and like, he's, when he's talking to the girl about the who freed Ed, like, oh, that's a very pretty dress. I like that. He's funny. He's funny, and I like what they're doing with Zsasz in this season. Like, they're making him more of a little witty sidekick for Penguin. I like it. I'm loving that Alfred's playing more of a fit, an active role. Like, he's not just this, oh, Mr. Wayne, we shouldn't be doing this. Mr. Wayne, we shouldn't be doing this, and he goes up and does it anyway. Oh, Mr. Wayne, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, he's actually out there helping him, teaching him, this stuff. So he's stepping into that mentor role, and I think that's good. I think that's really, really good. And yeah, I mean, this was just a really solid episode. I really liked it. And, it sets up nicely, it answers some questions, but then poses some questions. It's going to be interesting to see who else they bring into this season, who else they introduce. And yeah, and where these new characters that they have introduced, where do they go? Who are they? Are they going to play a big role, or are they just going to get cast aside? That's going to be the big thing. That would be the big thing. But yeah. Alright, guys, that's it for us. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Peace. Bye.